Hey, welcome back once again to Jack's Tech Corner. This is Photography Weekly, show number 20. And this week we're going to talk about Photoshop elements, blending and masking tricks. We're also going to talk about aperture shooting. What is aperture and how do we use it to control exposure? We're also going to look at some pictures and compare our pictures from point and shoot with DSLR. So let's go ahead and get started this week with Photography Weekly, show number 20. Okay, so there we are, and we're back up. So hopefully you enjoyed that new opener, and you've seen it is now called Photography Weekly instead of Photoshop Elements Weekly. Now the reason I had to do that, it did make sense, because I got a lot of emails, people watching some of the past shows and said, Jack, you didn't have any Photoshop Elements topics in your show at all. People were getting kind of concerned with that and going, what is the deal there? What's going on? And I said, well, quite frankly, we talk about everything photography. You know, I want to be an all-round photographer with you folks, and you're showing me that, and definitely teaching me it's more than photo editing. And if you've been watching the pictures in the Facebook group, you know that's to be the case. We've seen some very, very nice work coming in there. All the different waterfall pictures. Oh my, I tell you what. So you're showing that it's more than photo editing. It's more about photography. And that's what we want to talk about during the shows. So now with that out of the way, you are watching the proper show here. This is the old, aka Photoshop Elements Weekly. But now it's called Photography Weekly. And we can pretty much talk about anything we want to now about photography. So that's what I wanted. I wanted to find a way. And when we was out on that trip, we're on a cruise ship, and I was talking to my wife, and I said, how can I make the show more about anything photography, more than just editing pictures? And she said, well, change the name. If you change the name, then you're allowed to talk about anything. So I wanted to call it Anything Weekly, and she said that's not a good idea. So we decided on Photography Weekly. So there we go. And as I said, the first thing we're going to talk about this week is doing some, it's funny, we changed the show, and then I'm going to do some Photoshop Elements, blending and masking anyway. So I want to teach you a little bit about blending some pictures and masking to take one picture into another. And I know we've done this before, but I had some nice ideas with some of our vacation pictures, and I thought it'd be a good time to go ahead and play around with that. So we're going to go ahead and get started with that first. Okay. Hopefully, good morning, Cheryl. I see you in there. Kevin, good morning to you. Hopefully everybody is coming up. It looks like we have our pretty much standard Sunday morning group here. So that's great to see all you guys back in there. Sorry I was gone for a week, but we had a great time. Great time with the kids. They had a lot of fun. And our kids are teenagers, so their idea of fun is different than if you have little ones. Little ones, we can entertain them in many, many ways. Okay. So I'm going to switch over here to my laptop, and we are going to talk about some blending and masking techniques and try to actually put two pictures together. And I played with this the other night, and I thought, well, this is fun. I thought I would share it with you. So let me go ahead and do that. Let's get rid of this. Okay. And always remember, too, folks, make sure you can call into the show. I'd love to hear from you. And I thought maybe you'd get some calls there when we start to do some aperture work and talk about that a little bit. So what we're looking here is a picture that I took whenever I go out and I'm walking anywhere, even on vacation. I don't always just look for the tourist attractions. That is a big thing, and that's what we take a lot of pictures of. I tend to look at the architecture of the buildings, what's available in the buildings for me to take pictures of, and that's kind of what I start looking at. Well, this you're looking at right now is a picture of a ceiling, or a upper part of a ceiling, and they had these murals basically all the way around this dome, and I thought that's a cool shot. So I took this and I thought, well, what can I do with that with my family, with my family's picture, to make it even more interesting or make it more of my own? So I thought, well, the first thing I was going to do was straighten the picture out a little bit. So we're going to straighten it, crop it just a little bit, and then we're going to merge another picture into this. So the first thing I want to do is go to Image, Rotate, and we are going to do a free rotation layer. And then I'm just going to rotate this a little bit until I feel it looks pretty straight. And there it is. So it looks straight to me. Now what happens is anytime we straighten a picture, you guys know that we end up with basically transparent pixels, because we're moving it off of its axis. So we're changing the shape of the picture itself. So either hit the enter key or click the little checkbox, whichever you prefer to do. And now what we want to do is we're going to go ahead and crop this. Let's just go ahead and crop this out. And the other thing I like to crop off really in realistic terms is I like to crop the transparent pixels off, is what I like to take off of there. So as you see here, I'm just coming across to the transparent pixels just to have a more straight shot. Hit enter, and there you go. Now I have a nice straight picture, and I got rid of that transparent pixels I don't need. Now I need to get my other picture on top of this picture. So that's my second part of this. And I know I'm going to get tons of emails from people. I do it every week. Jack, you didn't duplicate your background layer. What are you doing, you crazy person? So I'll do a Command J and I'll just duplicate that just to have it done. Have that duplicate layer. No big reason why I did that. It does save the base layer. Remember, we always say to duplicate. And believe me, I will get a lot of emails. People say, Jack, you're not going to get any emails. Okay, here is a great picture of the family. And they always love when I use them in these videos because they, you know, I told them, I said, I'm making you a star, right? You guys are going to be stars one day. Not true, but but I do use my family a lot in these videos, and you guys have seen a lot of them. And I'm not going to introduce them all. I'll just say that they're all pretty much our kids. It's more of a mine, ours, and yours, but they're all the group. This is all the group of kids right here. And we are going to go ahead, just as always, we're going to select all. We need the whole picture, and then we're going to edit. And a lot of you guys are having trouble with this. A lot of people email me all the time, Jack, I can't merge one picture to the other. I don't understand what you're doing. So here, I'm going to do it again because I get so many emails, and I'm just going to take this a little bit slower. Let's go ahead and select all. Excuse me on that one if you heard that. But okay, so we select all. So Jack, what does that do? It selects all the pixels. It selects the whole entire picture. So we can do something with those pixels. Pixels meaning the picture. Now we're going to do edit, and we're going to do copy, because we want to copy that entire selection. Now guys and girls, you don't have to drag and drop. We don't have to do anything fancy. All we got to do is click open in that other picture on top here, the other tab. And then we are just going to do an edit, and we're going to paste it. And it's going to paste it onto its own layer. Very, very simplistic. It's very easy to move these. Now your basic ideal or your basic trick with layers is this. Please always remember what layer you're clicked on. If you look over here on the right on the layers panel, we have different layers just like this, and you want to make sure you're on the proper layer. That's really, really important. Always have the layer clicked on that you want to work with. What we want to do now is we are going to resize this layer down a little bit. Now, when you go to resize a layer, always start from the upper corner to keep its perspective. Now, if you don't, here's what we're going to show you. If you don't, you're going to get this. So if you want some munchkins, that's a nice thing to do. You can use that. Remember, what was it? Munchkins, Munchkins, Munchkins. You remember that show. Which one was it? Wizard of Oz. You would just pull it down. Well, we don't want to do that. We want to keep the perspective of the people. We want to keep them their normal size and proper shape. So what we want to do is drag it from the corner and drag in. And what you'll do is you'll keep that perspective of the people without ruining everything. Also, when you're doing this, here, let's click this out of here again. When we go to move this, make sure this constrain proportions is checked. And if it is, you can move this and it's going to stay. You can see where you can make it as little as you bigger as you want. And they're going to stay in proportion. That's what you want. We are going to move this on this wall here. Maybe we'll make it a little bit smaller. And this is a judgment call of where you put this thing. I did this a couple times the other night playing around for you guys. Just like that. Once you get it where you want to have it, then you just click the checkbox. Now, as I told you earlier, we're talking about blending and masking. And we've done tons of this masking stuff since Elements 9 came out with the mask on it. And I've taught it numerous amount of times. But that's the techniques I use to kind of get this back into this. For lack of better terminology, for the framed area. So we are going to put it in there. So here, let's go ahead and put a layer mask on here. Just like so. Grab a paintbrush. And just start painting with black. You can see down here my palette on the bottom is black. And I just started painting with black. And you can just start clearing this out. Let me grab this call. Good morning, Deb. It's Jack with Jack's Tech Corner. How are you? Hello? Hold on, Deb. Hello, Deb, you there? Hello? I'm sorry, we can't hear you. If you can hear me, we can't pick you up there. We can't hear you. Okay, I'm going to hang up on Deb here. Sorry about that. We couldn't hear you in there. Okay, let's go on there. And Kevin's talking about the famous noodle. Mary needs to be here. She was wanting to know more about masking. Okay, Kevin, I don't know where, which Mary you're talking about. But we are going to go more on this masking technique. So again, we're just coloring it off. And the caller there, Deb, I'm sorry we had no audio on you. With Skype, you might want to check your audio. Do a test call so Skype can see if they can hear you, and then give us a ring back. And I'll be glad to talk to you there. Okay, so once you have that top piece done, we're just masking out here. It's not a big deal, right? Very easy. Then you can mask around these people if you want. Now, and what do I tell everybody when you're masking? This is one thing to always remember, and I teach this in class. Don't struggle. I know I'm getting older too, and the eyesight is not what it used to be. And that's, it's not saying anything wrong. It's just being honest. So I like to blow things up when I start looking at them, and before I start working on them, and then grab my paintbrush again, and then start masking back out here a little bit. So you just start masking this out, and you can actually start getting your people pretty nicely in there. Lower this paintbrush down a little bit here. It's a little bit too big. Sort of like this. And it does take some time. And please don't email me and say, Jack, you are not perfect at that. Your picture is terrible. Don't say that. I'm just giving you the basic idea of how to do this. You guys are going to do it on your own. And I just want to go over here. So just like that. So you're going to mask this out. You're going to get these folks cleaned up around here. And what's nice about this, hey, this is really neat because I'm going to show you here real quick. And if you mess up, don't worry about it, because here's what happens if you mess up. Switch your paint from black to white, or you can use your letter X key on your keyboard. You see them switching there back and forth, if you can see it in the video. Paint with white, and we can bring his leg back. Look at that. That's why a mask is so nice. That's why I like using a mask more than the eraser tool, because once you erase, it's erased. You know, it's harder to get it back. I mean, you can do an undo naturally, but there you go. And I like using keyboard shortcuts, and we should do a show probably one time on keyboard shortcuts just so you guys can see all of them. There's so many of them. But anyway, I'm also trying to watch the chat room. Okay, gotcha, Kevin. Gotcha, Kevin. Mary's a Keith Urban fan. Gotcha. Just was wondering who that was there. So I'm just getting this cleaned up, folks, and it looks pretty good. But what else a mask can be used for is not just bringing out people. How about hiding people? Because maybe you have a shot, and it tends to happen with me once in a while. Oh, man, I hate this time of year. You know, you got the air conditioners run to stay cool, but it's messing with my sinuses, as you can hear today. I'm sorry about that. You can also use this, and we find this at weddings occasionally. You know, little Johnny Jr. runs across the altar, and I had a great picture, and I don't want Johnny in there. So here, you could do this too. We can just take this, and you can actually get rid of all people too, right? You can get rid of a whole person. So there's many uses for a masking tool. You see how fast that was. It was very, very quick. You get rid of somebody out of there. Then when I started playing around with doing this, I said, wow, that's pretty cool. Hey, but I could do this too. Click here. You can also play with the layer styles or the blending modes. We can blend it. And there's a lot of different blending modes you can play with to play with this stuff. You can set it up here. Wow, this is a bad day for my sinuses to act up. Bad time. Sorry about that, folks. I got a lot of editing now to do. That's all right. Okay, so there you go. There you have it. That's the way we use a mask. Let me view it there. We'll fit it back to the screen so you guys can now see. If you have this area over here, let's put this back here. That's still a little bit out there. Oops. Make sure you're clicking on your mask. Just do that. Make sure you're on your mask when you're doing this. Just clean that out there just like that. There you go. Now, if you want to, you can click on this. If you say, that's not too centered, Jack, now it looks pretty bad, pull it over, you know? Just like so. And there you have it. Now they're kind of up there on top of the, whatever that is, framed inside of that picture. And there's a lot of other stuff you could play around with and do. But that is, if you guys watch my YouTube video called Unthinkable, I like playing around and making pictures not the way they are, then framing them, because I love conversation pieces. That's what I love the most in photography work. So there you have it. That is what we do and how we do it, actually with Photoshop Elements. That was Photoshop Elements, a masking and a little bit of blending techniques there, blending pictures together. Just a way to show you how to do that. Now I thought I would switch it up a little bit, being this is Photography Weekly. We can talk about photography as well as editing. I thought I would switch it up a little bit, and now we're going to talk a little bit about aperture priority mode, or aperture in general, and what does it do? What's it used for? Too many people, I teach these classes in a classroom setting, and so many people worry about exposure, and the best way for an underexposed picture is what? They turn a flash on. Not the best idea, especially when you have a camera, right? When you have a nice 35 millimeter camera, such as this camera here, right? This is the D80, the Nikon D80. And I know you guys are all shooting nice cameras because I see your pictures. I know it's great stuff. I know you have some great pictures out there. I watch all of your photos come through on Facebook there, and I see those on Flickr, and I know you do good work. But the absolute best way for an underexposed picture or an overexposed picture is not always either turning the flash on or turning it off. It's not even setting the exposure dial, because then you're starting to play with the variation of light itself. It's better to play with aperture mode. Now, the reason I say that is just this. I'm going to try to explain this if you don't understand aperture mode or know what it is. An aperture on a camera, this here right now, you can see maybe, let me see if I can bring up this other camera. I'm going to try to show this to you. Anyway, then we're going to work with this one camera today, and that's just the way life is. My camera right now, this 35 millimeter DSLR D80, I bought a prime lens. Now, a prime lens, it's a fixed 50 millimeter, but it's a 1.8 f-stop. Now, what does that actually mean to anybody is, first of all, it's what's known as a very fast lens in low light situations. It can very rapidly, I don't know if you can hear this, it can very rapidly get a focus and take a picture just that quickly. And it's in low light. It doesn't matter. I mean, I do have some studio lighting on here, but try to take that in that way. Okay. So it is very fast lens, and it allows me to shoot in lower light situations. The lens itself is a fixed lens, and that bothers my wife more than me because she likes to pick up the camera and zoom in and out. It doesn't zoom. This is what I call a foot zoom. When you want to get closer, you move your feet closer. When you want to get further away, you move your feet backwards. And it's 50 millimeters, so usually you have to go back more than you have to go forward, because it's still 50 millimeters is still a pretty tight shot. Now what we're going to talk about is aperture mode. And I'm going to show you these as we're doing this. Every camera that I know of out on the market today, especially if it's a DSLR, has a A on it, or some form of aperture priority shooting mode. That means when you turn it on A, you're controlling the aperture and the camera's adjusting everything else. Now there's another way to do it, and Kevin will definitely tell you this. And Kevin, I don't know, I just looked at the chat room. I don't know what kind of technical difficulties you're having there. If it was the cameras, that was me switching around. I'm sorry about that. My two other cameras are not working this morning for some reason. I have to stop the stream and restart to make them work, and I don't want to do that. So that's probably where the difficulties were. No biggie. So there's also manual mode. Now manual mode will allow you to adjust the speed of the shutter and the aperture and everything else to go with that shot. I suggest when you're first learning aperture priority mode, just stick with the programmed A on your camera. So what does it do? Here's the basis of aperture. The smaller the number, whenever we get a smaller number like 1.8, it's got a bigger aperture, bigger hole to allow light in. is what I'm saying. As the number gets higher, if we go to f22, we start closing that aperture down to about this size. It allows less light in. So that overall effect, we are actually controlling exposure, because we are controlling the light based on how much light we're letting into the camera either way. Now we are going to go ahead and start showing you some, he was teasing me. Thanks, Kevin. That's what I needed to know, buddy. Needed to know that one. After putting the 8 more gigs of RAM in the iMac to broadcast, I mean, I hope it doesn't give us that much more difficulties in life. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to take some pictures in aperture mode and show you the difference of what I'm talking about, how we can control exposure based on just plain old aperture settings. So let me go ahead and move some of these screens around. Let's see here. Okay. Now I'm also going to be using the iFi, which we talked about that one show, and I showed you how that worked. We're going to be looking at the iFi camera there. And hold on just a couple minutes here. You just got to switch some things around. So bear with me. Hold up and stick with me there. We're going to go ahead and run through this advertisement real quick, and I'll be right back with you. Green Screen Wizard for all your green screening needs. From standalone software to plugins to the green screens themselves. Ken is the man you want to go to. Longtime photographer and programmer, Ken has pulled both of his talents together to create the easiest green screen processes. And one hosting services. Do you need a personal website, or do you have a business looking for a company with dependability and support, yet at a reasonable cost, not to break the bank? One does it all. Websites, domain names, email services, and even remote servers. To order any of these products, go to my website, jackstechcorner.com, and click on the graphics on the left side of the page. Now, back to learning. All right, now we got that out of the way for today. We can go ahead and move on. Let me get these back in. Again, if you want to call in, Deb, if you want to call in again, you can definitely give us a call here. We will bring that number up as I get set up. The number there, if you want to call the show, is 724-701-0911. So if you guys out there are just listening and not watching the broadcast, you can definitely do that. Okay, so now we're going to talk about aperture priority mode. We're going to start here with a 1.8 f-stop. F-stop. Now, that used to throw me off. Said, what's an f-stop? F-stop is exactly related to the aperture. The f-stop is the number, basically, of the aperture setting. So let's go ahead with the first one. I'm going to show this to you, and then we'll go ahead with more of these as we go through these, and I'll be able to show you even more of those. All right. I wonder why you guys would lose the feed. It must be a Justin TV, I tell you what. They are something else there. If you had a black screen, it was me not flipping over quick enough from the commercial. So that's what that was from. That might be why you thought they lost the feed. Probably just never dropped at all, but that's okay. Okay, guys, we're going to switch over here to my screen. Let me see here. Here we go. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and take this first picture and show you this picture, and then we'll go on from there. I'll show you my model here. You guys have seen him before. And there he is again, right here. That's the gnome. You've probably seen a lot of my YouTube videos. He is my model that I use a lot. Switch back over here to this computer. Now let's go ahead and take a picture of the gnome here. And then I'm going to go ahead and display that to you. As I said here, I am using the iFi card to pull these pictures in directly into the computer here so we can see these quicker. Okay. Open it with preview so we can see it even bigger. And there we go. See if I can do this here. Okay. So there is my Mr. Gnome. Okay. Now that was set at an f1.8 f-stop. 1.8. Now I'm going to take it up, and right now the camera is controlling the shutter speed. I'm going to take it up to 3.5 f-stop, and we'll see if that picture changes. Same distance, same lighting. And I don't know if you heard there or not, but the shutter's getting a little bit slower at this point. What happens when we have a slow shutter speed? We start worrying about camera shake. Let me see if I can show you this one. It's not going to let me do that. I'm trying to make this easier on me here. Okay. Now you can see where the background here, try to make these little side by side here. The background got just a little bit darker. But what happened is there, when the camera is allowed to adjust it, as the picture itself is getting darker, the camera is adjusting the shutter speed to keep the shutter speed open longer. You just check, why is that? That doesn't make any sense. Yes, it does. Because as the camera notices, hey, I'm not getting a lot of light, it'll leave the shutter hang open longer to try to adjust and allow more light in to expose that picture. That's where we get exposure. Let's go ahead and we're going to move it up. We'll move it up to 5.6. And if you heard that, the camera actually held the shutter open even longer once again. And then let me show you this picture. Now what are we starting to notice? Now we're starting to notice more of that camera shake. Look how it's no longer sharp, if you guys can see that. I'm hand holding the camera. Whenever you hand hold a camera and the shutter's staying open a long time, it's time to pull out the tripod out of the bag. We're not going to, because this is a demonstration for you guys. So I want you to understand aperture priority mode. So let's go ahead. And we're going to adjust this up a little bit more. I'm going all the way to f22. And it looks like the shutter speed should be about 6 total seconds. And there you go, if you heard that. This picture here should be absolutely horrible. Not something you'd want to do at a wedding. So when you start shooting aperture priority mode, play with it. I love shooting aperture priority mode. I use it probably more than any other mode. Now look what we did to that picture. We totally blew the picture because the shutter stayed open so long. Trying to adjust to let enough light in there is what it was trying to do. Now what I'm going to show you is we're going to go into full manual mode and let me control the shutter and the aperture, and we'll see what we can come up with. Let's go ahead and do that. So the camera now is on full manual mode. The shutter's at f22, but we are going to take the speed of the shutter and change it to 1/25 of a second. Okay, very, very, very fast. Again, remember, f22, we are closing the light available light down. We're making it so that much light can't come into that picture. And at the same time, I took the shutter and I'm speeding it up, rapid. And you can probably hear this in the microphone, so listen. And you probably heard that nice fast click that we all love so much. Nice fast shot. Unless you're taking pictures of waterfalls, which we've seen recently. Those were taken, I'm sure, on a very slow shutter speed to show the movement of water. And now this is what we get. And I got to make this announcement. Please don't change your dial and don't check your TV set. You are seeing exactly what the broadcast is wanting to show you. Right now you should be seeing a black, very black preview. The cast is still running, guys. This is what you get. Now, the reason we got that is because we closed that shutter down. We closed the aperture down. We raised the number. We gave it a smaller amount of light. But at the same time, we took that shutter and we just pounded that shutter out real quick. And it didn't allow it to capture any light. So now I'm going to leave it at f22. But I'm going to take the shutter speed back. And I'll take it back to 25. So 25. Again, still very, very fast, but I can handhold that. You heard the shutter, how quick it was. So I don't think I was getting any camera shake. And now we're going to see if it got any better. And we can see that it did not. There you go. Okay, now, as I said, I'm just showing you the relationship. We want to try to get this so we can handhold this. Let's try 6. Okay. That was at 6 on the shutter speed. And we're still at f22 on the aperture mode. And again, folks, this is just playing around to show you the relationship. Look what happened there. The shutter stayed open a little bit longer. We can now see the gnome once again. He didn't move. He's not hiding. He's still sitting on the desk. We're going to go to 2. Just a little bit longer on the shutter. But still, I think I was able to handhold it. And we'll see where we're at here. So again, we're not using no flash. We're not changing our lighting patterns. We're not doing any of that. We're just strictly sticking with the manual mode. The camera's doing its thing. And there you go. So technically, if you want to shoot a faster shutter speed, let's go up to 1/25th again. That's what I normally shoot at, 1/25th. And I would take the aperture down. Open that aperture up. Even at f8. F8 should give us a pretty nice picture at that point with that fast shutter speed. And we should be able to see it okay. And nope, I see I was wrong. That's not right. Let's see here. Nope, that's a f2.8 on the shutter with a very fast shutter speed. And this is what you come up with. So you can see now the available light, folks, it's coming back. The light's coming back into there without us doing a whole lot to it. We're not adding light. I have my studio lights here, and they are very bright. You can see me very well. So you can see how bright it is. Here, I'll bring it back up. You can see me here, and you can see how bright it is. So you know that the room is very bright that I'm working in. But that picture I just showed you right here is dark around the edges. But that is just simply by playing with the aperture mode in manual mode. So I suggest get out there and shoot some aperture priority mode. And Marcos, put them up on our Facebook group. Marcos, and put them on the Facebook group and let me see what you have to do there with them and what you have to play around with. I love to see it. And let us know your settings. Whenever you put pictures on Facebook, in the caption of the picture itself, put your settings on your camera, because there's going to be a lot of us out there, even myself, looking at some of these waterfall pictures we've had this week. And I am just trying to find them here. Let's see here. Just trying to bring it up here. Yeah, hopefully nothing's wrong with Facebook this morning. And everything's going to be okay there. I just want to take a quick look at these. But yeah, whenever you're posting pictures, myself included, we want to go out as a group and shoot the pictures just like you did. So if you put your settings on there, then everybody will have an idea of where to start with their cameras and know what to do, how to get started. And hey, just to bring it up real quick, and I'll show you the picture that I used for it, but my profile picture, a lot of you this morning I've been talking to early this morning and last night about my hat. I'm going to tell you about that here in just a second. I just wanted to find... this is Deb Raffler. Deb Raffler, if you're listening, early morning fall gets a nice picture you put on the Facebook group, and if you want to call back in, if your microphone is working, give me a ring. Or if not, if you want to, pick up your cell phone. I mean, as long as you got free long distance on your cell phone, you'll be good shape. Give me a call that way. You can use that 724-701-0911. I'm just going down here looking for these Cheryl Newman's pictures. Cheryl. These pictures, you have one here of these waterfalls, and as we've commented, I know I did, and many, many other people commented, they are out of this world. So, there, I said it. Let's see if I can bring some of these up. There we go. So yeah, I am featuring these a little bit there. These are from Cheryl. You see her in the chat room. If you want to congratulate her on some fine photography work, you could do that. These are amazing pictures. I don't know if I can... Yeah, yep. There you go. So yeah, if you get time, go in there and put down how you shot those pictures, what you used for them. It would be really, really nice to know. I'm assuming, I'm taking a stab at it, that it was a very long shutter speed, probably on a tripod. You captured the movement of that water and the stillness of the rocks, and they are just gorgeous. And as I said in my post and my comments, you need to look around. Some websites out there, I think there's one called iStock Photo or Stock Photos, and throw some of your pictures up there. These are just brilliant work. So, okay. So I wanted to give you praise, and I wanted to do it this morning live, so there you go. A little photo tour. Now we're going to start here with some shots. These are shots from the DSLR, from my D80, is what we're looking at here. And I'm not going to take you through all of them. I just want to give you some basic ideas and show you some different kind of pictures. Like this is something that happens when you think you don't need a flash. But it's one of those pictures also, it turns on, you say, wow, that's kind of cool. So you keep it because they're silhouetted against the blue water there. It's actually an underground aquarium where we were. Then you had them turn around, you take a picture, you say, oh crap, this is the thing where you have to look at your viewfinder occasionally, and you turn the flash on to get a better picture. And like I said, I just wanted to show you some of these because I want you to take note of these pictures. This is with the Nikon D80 that I paid, whatever. What would you pay for a D80 when they were new? $1,100 maybe, roughly speaking, I guess. Now I want to show you pictures though. These are pictures I took with my 5 megapixel iPhone. I want to give you some ideas here. That's a night shot. Not too bad. Not too much noise. This is interesting. This is smoke from a gentleman's cigar sitting there. Very interesting shot. Okay, weird shots. Weird shots. Family stuff, guys. Sorry. Now, the tail of the ship outside in the daylight with an iPhone. With an iPhone. I paid, what, $149 for my iPhone? It's my cell phone. Look at those shots. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying that the quality of phones in your pocket are becoming so great. Would I take an iPhone and shoot a wedding? No. But did I carry my iPhone around a lot on this trip? Yes, it was on my belt. Even though we turned them on airplane mode, all of our phones were shut off. We all used them for the camera features. So when you're out, don't feel bad. Look at that. Don't feel bad taking your iPhone out of your pocket and taking a picture with it. It's okay. Even though we're great photographers, right? We all have 35 millimeter SLR cameras, and we take great pictures and great pride. I know Kevin, my friend Kevin on here, he travels all over the place, and he always carries his camera with him. I know he does. But this is kind of cool. I just wanted to share this with you. Now these ones in low light, you can see the movement doesn't work too well. I would rather had my 35 millimeter with me. And the coloring in the low light is not as good. You can see some hazing there, so the color is not as good as well balanced. That's not bad, and that was with the iPhone. Look at that. It's a nighttime shot of the moon coming over the smokestack of the ship. So again, I just wanted to show you how that looks. Now, this is one of our girls, and this is with a Nikon point and shoot camera. I don't want to get anything too embarrassing there for her. Here, we'll go here. This is a Nikon point and shoot camera we bought her one year for Christmas. You know, they cost about, I don't know, $129. I was blown away by these pictures, how wonderfully brilliant the colors are, the contrast, the clarity. Look at the rail on that picture. That picture would look like, if you wouldn't have known, you would say, Jack, you took that with your 35 millimeter, didn't you? And I did not. I did not take that. We took that, or the girls took that with their Nikon point and shoot camera. Give you some more there. We were just walking around the ship and they were shooting pictures. It's just amazing. Look at the sky, the contrast of the sky, the water, the clarity. Look at us standing on top of that ship. The clarity of that picture is amazing. With a point and shoot camera. So it's not the camera. You don't have to spend $2,000 for a camera. The only reason you do that is to get all the manual features. Their cameras naturally don't have a lot of manual features, but kids today know how to point and shoot, and I tell you what, they take amazing pictures. And this is the youngest. This is her camera. Also, it's another Nikon point and shoot camera. Kids had a lot of fun with, and she wasn't drinking that beer. You see, it was still capped. She was just holding it like she was having a beer with the frog here. If you've ever been on a cruise line, they like to make little animals out of your towels, is what they like to do. Again, now some of the color is not as great as what I would like it to be with a 35 millimeter. But when they turned the flash on, it was brilliant. Look at that. That's from a point and shoot camera, Nikon. As you can see, the kids got dressed up. They had a great time. Some of their pictures, but amazing. Once again, just amazing. Right? So there you have it. I just wanted to show you the difference between point and shoot and DSLR cameras. And you can have a lot of fun with either one. It's the old man there wanted to look like I was having a sundae poured on top of me. So there you have it. Okay, guys, thanks everybody for stopping by here once again. This is Jack's Tech Corner, and this is Photography Weekly, actually show number 20. I'm going to have to go back. I'm going to have to rewrite or redo the opener again, but that's okay. It's been great being back, and like I said, it's great having you all in here in the chat room every Sunday morning. Please watch next Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we'll talk more about photography, your cameras, and your photo editors right here on Photography Weekly. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.